Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Cool Eagle, back here. Another video. Just want to come talk to you guys because, whoa, do we have a lot to talk about today in the world of NFL football? It wasn't a matter of when. Well, actually, it was a matter of when because I think after that game last night, and before I even get off, hope everybody's doing well out there. If you're in Texas, I'm sure it's rainy where you are. Hope you're staying safe, man. A good time to stay inside. Probably catch up on some shows. Uh, just whatever people do on rainy days like this, right? So last night we saw a spectacle of a game. If you're a fan of blowouts like me, as the Los Angeles Chargers came into Las Vegas and took a hell of an ass whooping. The Raiders just seemed to do just about whatever they wanted to do against this Los Angeles Chargers team that just lost their franchise quarterback for the season due to actually a thumb injury. Now, according to recent reports out of Chargers camp, Justin Herbert is scheduled to have that surgery on Tuesday and will be placed on injured reserve. But at this point, if there was any hope of him coming back or playing through that injury, it's null and void at this point. The Chargers are pretty much demoralized. They look demoralized. If you're watching the halftime show, you were watching as Richard Sherman came in and was talking about how unmotivated these Chargers players were coming into this game. It just appears that they have given up on Brandon Staley as they were down 42-0 at halftime and probably could have been another 70-20 game just because of what Easton Stick did in the second half, throwing those 3 touchdown passes and an interception. While not playing his best football in the first half, Easton Stick still probably won some favor from the Chargers organization. He's not bad. He was just coming into a deflated Chargers team. Now, as a result of this game, Brandon Staley has been relieved of his duties as of about an hour ago, per Dove Kleiman and Adam Schefter. The Los Angeles Chargers have fired him. So it wasn't a matter of what, it was just a matter of when. And a lot of us saw this coming, especially after last year when the Los Angeles Chargers had a really good chance to make a playoff run, winning at 10-7, going into playoffs against a young Jacksonville team where they had a 27-0 lead, but gave it up, and all of a sudden the game was at 31-30. Now, this is no knock on the greatness of Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert still ended the year being a top 10 quarterback, top 10 in touchdown passes, 5th best QBR according to ESPN. But the Chargers have fired both Brandon Staley and GM Don Telesco, a move that was highly anticipated. A lot of people said that this firing should have happened last year after that horrible debacle in the playoffs and just streaks of Brandon Staley, who's supposed to be a defensive coach, had one of the worst defenses in the league. Let me just give you some numbers. The Chargers had the 29th ranked defense. They were 31st in TDs allowed. They were tied with the Eagles in point and passing yards a game allowed. And we know what the Eagles secondary is and what it isn't at this point in the league. It's very suspect. Any quarterback can have a really good day on this team, which is why a lot of Eagles fans they haven't really come out and boastfully said that we're going to beat the Seattle Seahawks, a team that we have not been able to beat in 15 years. But this is about the Eagles. We will be getting into them shortly. And again, guys, thank you for coming in, showing up. Just remember, like, subscribe. But when you talk about the problems with this Chargers team, it's really kind of what the Eagles are going through. It's more of a coaching thing because the Chargers have talent, and the offense wasn't really the problem this year. Now, I know a lot of y'all are probably going to talk about that Patriots game where they only scored 6 points, but you also got to understand that Patriots defense was holding people to record lows and still losing games because they had offensive struggles under Bill O'Brien. Because the Chargers offense, if I can just share with y'all some numbers, right? The Chargers offense was ranked 17th. They were tied for 8th in total touchdown passes. Like despite the criticisms of Austin Eckler not being up to his contract and then not having a really good running game to help Justin Herbert when he's getting pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. Top 10 in sacks in the league, despite having an all-pro left tackle in Penny Sewell. So if you're asking the problems with this Chargers team, it's really just a matter of coaching because they have talent on both sides of the ball. Like you have Khalil Mack, you have Asante Samuel Jr. In that secondary. You have a really steady linebacking core. So if Bill Belichick were to get fired from the Patriots this year, because again, that's still a rumor that's been spread around by Dov Kleiman and some sources close to the New England Patriots organization. If you get Bill Belichick over there, I think this team can really turn around because you're talking about a defensive genius in Bill Belichick that you thought that you were getting out of Brandon Staley. Because let me read you some more numbers here about Brandon Staley. We know what Brandon Staley did for the Los Angeles Rams in that 2020 Super Bowl. They had one of the best defenses in the league at that time with Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald having an all-pro year, the likes of it. But then he begins his coaching tenure with the LA Chargers, and we see his rankings for 2021. He had a 29th ranked defense. In 2022, he had a 21st ranked defense. And this year, he has the 29th ranked defense, according to Pro Football Statistics. So the problem wasn't with anything on the offensive side of the football. It was more or less just the scheme of it and how Brandon Staley was galvanizing these guys. Maybe he wasn't really galvanizing these guys. Maybe he's one of those coaches that don't really talk to his players, but which is something that you need to do as a head coach in this league, galvanizing a group of grown men who have separate brands and personalities in the locker room that you galvanize to get wins. And that just didn't happen with Brandon Staley. And that could possibly happen with Bill Belichick if he were to come into that building, because I don't see him just replacing the offensive coordinator because, again, as we all know, when new head coaches come into the building, they typically get their own guys. But if I was Bill Belichick, I wouldn't change a thing about the offense. I let Kellen Moore take over the play calling just because, again, Kellen Moore, he had the number one offense in 2019 with the Dallas Cowboys. This was during a year, I believe, Ezekiel Elliott was suspended this year, or maybe I'm thinking of 2018, but he had a number one offense with Dallas in 2019, and he had the number one offense with Dallas in 2021, despite Dak Prescott not playing that entire year. So it's not safe to say that Kellen Moore should be out the building if a new head coach comes into the Chargers organization, which is probably likely to happen. You know, like you get your own guys when in change of anything, especially with a new general manager. Like you never know. So the Chargers, they have a lot of questions in the offseason. They already are taking a huge cap hit with this Justin Herbert injury. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. But as far as the Eagles are concerned, again, if you haven't watched my previous videos, I talked about how the Eagles can still control their destiny, being 10-3, tied for best record in the league still right now at 10-3. And as I said in my previous videos, the Eagles have the easiest 4-game stretch out of all the other competitors in the NFC. I talked about Dallas going to Buffalo. I talked about Dallas going to Miami and then having to play Detroit and then playing a division game at the end of the year. I talked about the San Francisco 49ers having to play the Ravens. They got to play the Cardinals. They have 2 division games, and they have the Ravens and the other third team, fourth team, I can't remember. But and then you have Detroit. They have a lot of division games coming up. They just lost a division game to the Chicago Bears, who are picking top 10 in the offseason when the NFL draft comes around. So the Eagles can still control their destiny. But going into this Monday Night Football game into Seattle, a game that we have not, well, a team that we have not beaten in 15 years, there's a lot of questions that you have to ask. You know, how good is Brian Johnson's offensive play calling going to be in this game against a really good defense? Not the best defense because they give up a lot of rushing yards on the ground. But when you think about their secondary, young defensive backs who are not afraid to get up on the receiver, we know what Tariq Woolen represents being a big, long, physical corner. They're probably going to have him on A.J. Brown, like Dallas did with Stephon Gilmore, which makes sense. You got to have a physical receiver. I mean, a physical corner on your most physical receiver. Like it only makes sense. But when it comes to the play calling on both sides of the football, and we're just sticking with offense right now. Like when it comes to offense, I wanted y'all to take a look at this graphic from Shane Half, a really great guy on Twitter, who brought up some amazing points on how to fix this Eagles offense. So how to fix the Eagles offense, right? The passing game, Jalen Hurts has an expected completion percentage of 61.6 this season. This is the second lowest in the NFL. Now, we know Jalen Hurts for the last 2 years to be a really good passing quarterback, improving his numbers since he got in the league. Last year, he was at 66.5%. This year, he's still at 66.5%. So he neither digressed in that aspect or progressed. But when you talk about him having the second lowest in the NFL as far as its expected completion percentage, like now you're talking about him probably dealing with an offensive scheme that's not putting him in the right position. Because then it goes on to say Hurts is presented with the second most difficult throws on average in the entire NFL, meaning the wide receivers are having a hard time getting separation. Why is that? It's not because of the talent. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are some of the most premier receivers in the league. So how in the world are these guys having a hard time getting separation? I'll tell you how. And this all goes back to the rumor that A.J. Brown was talking about how the Eagles offense is at times very predictable, and we should study what Dallas is doing. Because when you're talking about the talent that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both possess, if they're not able to get coverage, then you're talking about the issue being more of a coaching thing, which we all know with Brian Johnson being consistent on the offensive side of the ball as far as play calling and scheming these guys to get them in the right position to be successful has been a problem. But recently he's come out and taken accountability for that. But if you're asking your boy personally, I don't think Brian Johnson was the problem in the Cowboys game. I really don't, because we were marching down the field on these guys, getting into the red zone multiple times. But it's just the fact that when you have a team, and Jalen Hurts having career highs in turnovers, he fumbled the ball in the red zone. A.J. Brown fumbled the ball in the red zone. Devontae Smith fumbled the ball in the red zone. And this is not a slap in the face of their ability, but more or less to the Cowboys, who were able to force turnovers. The Cowboys defense forced those turnovers to get them in the right position to score. The Philadelphia Eagles, and you saw them doing these football drills on live, trying to send a message to the fan base that they really do feel bad about that. Because no betting man in this world could have guessed that the three superstars on the Philadelphia Eagles would each have a lost fumble that like attributed to points for the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not saying Brian Johnson was bad in that game. I would say the players had bad execution with those three fumbles in the red zone. So if you're telling me that that's going to be the same case going into Seattle, I mean, I have to call you crazy. But going back to the graphic, right? Shane Happ then goes on to say, if you want to know how to fix this offense, start with finding some easy buttons in the passing game. Because we noticed last year under Shane Steichen, he was able to get wide receivers open, get Jalen Hurts outside the pocket where he's most dangerous, even though he has progressed substantially as a really good pocket quarterback. So we're not seeing Jalen Hurts have these easy passing plays from Brian Johnson, and we're seeing instead these long developing routes that end up in sacks or end up in incompletions. So coming into this Monday Night Football game against the Seattle Seahawks, I would like to see Brian Johnson scheme more easy plays for Jalen Hurts, whether they be 5-yard, 10-yard outs, whatever they make hay slants in the middle with Dallas Goedert. Just get them something easy. Howie Roseman literally signed Julio Jones, and we have yet to find a way to consistently scheme him into this offense. And I think doing that is going to help out in droves, especially if you get him plays like you're getting Dallas Goedert. Because Julio Jones is still just as big as Kyle Pitts at his age, so you can get him, closer to the line of scrimmage and have him run those routes in the middle of the field. You know what I'm saying? So Brian Johnson has to do a better job at scheming these guys in the right position. In the right position to score and get down the field like he did against Dallas. And the players just have to be better at executing. So continue looking at this graph here, right? This graphic right here. Hurts completion percentage over expectation, meaning what he's expected to do. So if his expected completion percentage is at 61.6 this season, and his expected is set to be 5% over that, we're basically saying he's right at 66.5%. Maybe he'll be at 66.6, which would be crazy, right? If you know, you know. So his expected completions percentage is supposed to be the highest in the NFL right now, which tells us that right now the system is making it as difficult as possible on the playmakers to perform above what is expected. Again, Brian Johnson has to continue to do what he did in the Dallas game, getting this team offense down the field to get easy points, get us these easy leads in the first half instead of being down by 10 going into the second half. I think this will do wonders, not only for Jalen Hurts, but for his team's morale overall. You know what I'm saying? Especially getting blown out in back-to-back games against two of the NFC's best juggernauts in the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. So I like what Shane Happ said in this one, and he goes on to give more solutions. Hold on. Yes. So again, stop turning the ball over. The Eagles have fumbled 9 times in the last five games and thrown 2 interceptions. A third of those fumbles came against the Dallas Cowboys in the red zone. Again, if you would have told me that Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown were all going to fumble in the red zone, I would have to call you crazy. But in order for the Eagles offense to be more consistent going into this game, because I actually like the Eagles offense in the Dallas game, we just turned the ball over way too many times. In this game, we just can't do that. We can't do that. So we fumbled 9 times last 5 games, thrown 2 interceptions. I don't foresee the Eagles throwing interceptions or fumbling the ball in this game. Just because of the hype that they're building around this game. The players are coming out and making themselves accountable. Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts stepping up on the pedestal and and keeping themselves accountable. But the bottom line of it all is the Eagles offense has star players all over the field, but they have used them as a crutch instead of doing everything possible to schematically put them in position to succeed. This is what we have been saying about the Eagles offense for the past few weeks and even this whole season. We need to scheme these guys to get them in the right position because we have Pro Bowl players on both sides of the ball. AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Julio Jones, DeAndre Swift. We need to get these guys in the right position to succeed because the problems with the Eagles are not talent. It's scheme. It's scheme. And Brian Johnson and Sean Desai, who we will talk about in just a moment, have to be better job at being consistently good at getting these guys in the right position to succeed. Now, I will say that the offense does have a nice schedule of defenses to get their swagger back. Because, again, I talk about after the Seahawks, who give up a lot of rushing yards, and then we got 2 games against the Giants, who are not going to be easy because they're on a win streak right now. The Cardinals, who are trying to spoil the fortunes. Kyler Murray trying to still keep his name as a top perennial quarterback in this league, coming off an injury. these games not going to be easy, but they do provide the Eagles the opportunity to get their swagger back going into the playoffs, possibly with the number one seed if all goes as expected. You know, we win our games and the other NFC competitors like lose one or two games. So moving on to Sean Desai, I want to just address this. Darius Slay, who's been a talk of Eagles Nation for a while, being a problem. But when you look at Darius Slay's 2023 coverage stats, he is 48 of 84, giving up only 57%, 543 yards, 2 touchdowns, and getting two interceptions of his own, giving quarterbacks a rating of 60.2 on average when they throw his way. Slay has allowed a 60 rating in coverage in last year. So Slay has been consistently good at doing what he's supposed to do as a defender, the captain of the defense. Um, you know, with his numbers, he's been doing exceptionally well. So I can't say Darius Slay is the problem with this team. It's not fair to say from anyone in Eagles Nation that Darius Slay is a problem, even though eye test would tell you on the field that, you know, he's missing tackles. He's not as physical as you would like him to be, but the numbers don't lie, right? He's still been the best corner compared to James Bradbury, who I called Sam Bradbury in the last video, just because I was angry with him. But um, Brian Johnson has to do a better job at scheming these guys still. Because now we got a better linebacking core. We got Zach Cunningham, Shaq Leonard, the likes. We got Sam Bradbury. If we can scheme him the right way, you know, not have him on an island by himself. Reed Blankenship, Kevin Byard. We got guys that can get the job done. It's just on the coaching to really, really, really do a better job at consistently getting these guys in the right position to succeed, because we have talent on both sides of the ball. It's the matter of the guys coaching these guys to get them in the right position. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments. Leave your thoughts and your love, man. We got more content on the way. We got to talk about Tampa Bay being in a three-way tie in their division and how they can possibly go into Green Bay this week and upset the Green Bay Packers. Watch out for that. But again, like, subscribe, get this content out there. And your boy Cool Eagles out here. Salute.